Hi, folks. Sorry I'm not there today. I want to talk a little bit today about the next step in your project, which is beginning to work with the color adjustments um, on your pictures. So I have here an image that I was working on earlier. It's just a straight photo. I haven't really done anything to it. It's just a picture I took last summer, and I want to adjust the color. So I'm just going to use this as an example. Um, so when you want to adjust colors of anything in Photoshop, um, your main thing you're going to be looking at is this menu right down here at the bottom. Um, and Actually, it appears that it doesn't actually show up on the video, it seems. So what I'm clicking on is right down here at the bottom. It looks like I call it a yin yang symbol. It's got a little it's like a little circle, and it's got a black and white. It's like half black, half white circle, and it's right down here. I'm clicking it, but for some reason you can't actually see the menu. The menu is not appearing on the video. Um, but anyway, when you click that little shortcut down there, you're going to see a bunch of options. It's going to say brightness, contrast, levels, curves, exposure, vibrance, hue, saturation, etc. Um, I'm just going to talk about a couple of these. The basic idea is pretty simple. Let's say I want to make an area of my picture darker. Um, there are a number of tools that do that. The ones that make things darker or lighter are the brightness, contrast, levels, or curves, which you'll see right near the top. Um, this is curves. This is what happens when you click on curves. This one is brightness, contrast. So here's what happens when you click brightness, contrast, and here's what you'll see when you click levels. Any one of those will work, will do the job. Um, Brightness contrast is probably the easiest to understand. Quite simply, all you have to do is adjust the brightness up and down, and it will change the overall look of the picture. Um, Technically, this is not one of the better ways to adjust things, but it is one of the easiest ways. Normally, what I would use for adjusting a overall brightness or lightness or darkness of a picture would be um, either levels, which is this one, or curves, which is this one. And again, to access these, you just click the little yin yang symbol down here at the bottom of your layers, um, and you can either choose levels or curves. Okay. Again, I know it's not showing up in the video, but as soon as you click it, what you're going to get is what you see right here, which is what's called an adjustment layer. Um, this is my curves adjustment layer. This is my levels adjustment layer, as you can see right there. Um, I think actually curves is probably a little bit easier to understand, so I'm just going to use curves for right now. I'm just going to delete this levels, get rid of that. So here's my curves layer, and basically you can click on this line and pull it down to make things darker, or pull it up to make things lighter. Okay, so that's quite simple. Um, the reality is it's much more complex than that. The left side of the line controls the dark areas of the picture, and the right side of the line controls the light areas of the picture. So technically, you could adjust, say, just the dark areas by pulling a curve down like so, or you could adjust just the light areas by pulling a curve up or down on the right side. Um, Technically, I'm going to end up using some combination of both, and I'm just going to sort of increase the contrast on this picture right now, just to give you a better um, idea of what you can do. So there is the picture with the contrast adjusted. This is a lot more contrasty, a lot more moody, and just generally darker. Um, so here it is before I made the adjustment. Here it is with the adjustment. Um, One of the great things about using adjustment layers, which again is this little shortcut right down here at the bottom, one of the great things about using adjustment layers is it has a mask attached to it already. Okay, so you are familiar with masks already, and basically what it means is I can grab my brush tool over here, make sure that I'm using black, and then if I want to, let me just make this really dark so you can really see the effect that I'm about to do. Um, if there's some area of the picture that you don't want to be darker. So like let's say I just made the whole picture a whole lot darker. And I think it looks pretty good in this water area, but I think it looks too dark up here. So what I can do is just take my brush and I can just paint. I'm going to actually turn the hardness down here first before I do that. And I can paint with white, or excuse me, with black. So you see here on my mask, I'm painting black. You can paint with black to essentially undo the effect of the adjustment that you just did. Okay, so if I want the effect to be in a certain area, I can paint white on it, like so. And if I don't want the effect in a certain area, I can paint black on it. Okay, so right now I think it's a little bit too dark up here. You can also paint with shades of gray. So if you want sort of a 50% sort of effect, you can paint shades of gray as well. So that's sort of the basics of using the adjustment layers in um, Photoshop. So here it is before I made the adjustment, and here it is with the adjustment. Okay. Now, I do think this is way too bold of an adjustment. I would never actually do it like that. I just purely did that for the sake of demonstration. So feel free to play with your light and darks using curves if you like. So that looks pretty good. Let's do another adjustment. In this case, I want to adjust some colors. So I'm going to click my adjustment layer button again. It's down here at the bottom. There is another way I can get to it. Well, you can't see that menu either. I'm not sure why my menus aren't showing up in my recording here, but anyway. So another one that's really, really easy to use is the photo filter, which I really like, or the black and white filter. So you guys used black and white previously. If I choose black and white, turns the picture to black and white, okay? But it gives you this adjustment over here that allows you to adjust the overall lightness and darkness of each of the original colors from the original picture, okay? So most of this picture is green, right? There's some blues here in the rocks, and there's a lot of browns. So I can adjust, like let's say I go here to greens. If I turn this darker, all those trees are going to get really, really dark. And if I turn the greens lighter, those leaves are going to be really, really bright. Okay. The yellows will adjust mostly the water because that water had a lot of yellow in it. Let's see, cyan here doesn't really do too much. There's a little bit there on the rocks. Blue, not very much blue. It's mostly on the water. So that I think looks pretty. You see this red here is mostly affecting the rocks and the sort of sandy area. So here is my new picture with black and white as well as a curves adjustment. So here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like after. Okay, pretty cool. What else can I do? Let's get rid of the black and white for the moment. By the way, if you don't like an adjustment layer, you can always just turn it off by clicking the little eyeball that's right next to it, or you could just actually delete it. So if you click the layer and then hit the trash can, you can just delete it and it's gone. The last one that I want to show you is the photo filter, and it's just called photo filter. So again, to get to it, you click this black and white circle down here at the bottom, and you choose where it says photo filter. I promise mine says it on the screen. It just doesn't in the video. So here's the photo filter. And photo filter is going to, again, pop up right up here, and it's going to give you two things you can adjust. You can adjust the density of the filter right here, and you can adjust the color that it's using. So there's a number that are warming filters, which is basically going to make your picture look more like orange, yellow kind of tones, or cooling filters, which are going to make it look more blue, or even a bit purplish. And then there's just a variety of colors you can choose, like sepia, which will give it sort of an old-fashioned photography look. Excuse me, or any color that you choose. You can also just choose any custom color that you like. So if you click right here where it's color, you can literally just pick any color that you want to tint your entire image. Okay. Now, why would I want to do this? Why do I want my picture to look blue? Well, I probably wouldn't want to do this um, if I was only going to use one. Okay. But in reality, what we can do is we can combine these together. And when we combine several of these filters together, we can end up getting some really, really cool, interesting sort of looks. So I'm going to start with this one first. And it does not look good. It's very purple and very blue. I'm definitely not into it, but I'm going to do another filter. So I'm going to come down here again, and I'm going to choose photo filter again. Um, what I find is that when you combine several of these filters together, you can actually end up with some really interesting um, and sort of creative sort of color effects. Um, this is sort of, I would give the equivalent of the filters on Instagram. If you use the color settings on Instagram, essentially what they're doing is a combination of these types of filters, and they are combining them together in such a way that it gives you a pleasing appearance. Um, so all I'm doing at the moment is sort of experimenting. All right, so I've done, let me do a sepia. All right, so I've done 3 different photo filters here. I can change the look of the finished picture by changing the stacking order of the filters. Um, Whichever one is on top is going to exert the most influence over the color. But by changing the order of them, you can get some really different kind of looks. Okay. Um, don't forget. So this one, for example, is going blue. Don't forget that you have a mask, and if there is a particular area of your picture that you don't want to be affected by a particular filter, so this filter is the blue cooling filter, for example. Um, if I click on the mask and say I don't want that blue effect on the trees, I can simply paint black on all the trees like so. Um, Now I'm not doing this super neatly, so it's not going to look all that great, but it'll give you the idea at least of what I'm trying to demonstrate here. So I have painted black on all of the green plants in the picture. Little guy in a boat down there. That's kind of fun. There's two people. Didn't even know they were down there. So you can see on my mask here, I've painted black in a number of areas, and those areas that are black uh, are not being affected by that filter. So anything that I paint white is being affected. Anything that I paint black is not being affected. So now when I adjust that filter, you can see that it is not affecting those green areas. Okay, so this gives you a lot of creative flexibility. Like let's say I wanted um, let's just say I wanted to change the color of the water, for example. I can go to photo filter, pick a color that I want that water to be. Let's say I want the water to be more orange. I don't know why I would want orange, but let's just say that I do. So I can crank up that orange color, okay, and then simply paint with my brush, paint black on everything else. So I'm keeping um, everything else its original color, but making it so that just that water area is being affected by this orange filter. Okay, I can still change that color if I'm like orange was a bad idea. Let's change it. Let's make it green, or let's make it whatever color that I want. You can do so very easily. Okay, so that is the basics of photo filters. I'm not exactly thrilled with the final result here, but at least it gives you an idea of just exactly how you can use those photo filters to um, sort of start tweaking your colors and give yourself um, a more interesting finished product. Thank you.